Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks that I've been using throughout the week. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I've got an article I want to talk about, so that's mostly where the comments are going to come from. Kind of, how did the ballpoint kill the fountain pen? So let's take a look at the pens. All right, so from left to right, I have the Aurora 88. Vintage edition, of course. I have a Rexpen 1748 from the world-famous Toz Penkala Pen Factory in Zagreb, Croatia. I have my Selector Mottled purple and black because I don't really know what it's called. It's old, it has a nice nib. I have a Ballograf that I did a first impression just recently. Platinum President. Wing Sung 699. Probably the more controversial thing I brought up in last week's video. The Pilot Custom 823. Platinum 3776 with a really beautiful finish. Not a special edition, but such a nice color. Nakaya Decapod Twist, which is almost empty. Pilot Justus 95, we'll get into why that one's here. Cavaco V14S. I decided not to set the Lamy 2000 out because, well, there's a reason I have so many pens inked up. The Lamy 2000 is also inked up and has been in heavy use, but I'm not going to show it this week. And the lovely Central Pen 100820. I also have the Escritor Juniors here, but it's set off to the side without a name tag for a reason we'll get to toward the end of the video. As always, I'll be doing my writing samples in this Bomo art journal. And if this seems a little awkward, I kind of reset everything and it's all kind of shoved that way. I'm going to see if I like it. One thing I discovered is camera A here picks up one of my lights if I'm not careful, I think. Nope, you just barely have the tip of it in frame. Doggone, I thought I'd fix that. Alright, well, let's do some writing. It was suggested to me that I should use one of those binder clips to hold this down, but I don't have one at home anyway, so I'm just going to do that. I've got a lovely bookmark somebody sent me, so we'll use it. I think it's a sailor bookmark. I'm getting that feeling because of the anchor, but for all I know it's not. I don't really remember anymore. Alright, so last week I did a video. I got myself in some trouble because I brought in some Chinese pens, and worse, I had a small talk about inspired by versus copy versus, whatever, intellectual property. This is a good example of an inspired by. This is an Italian pen. The Aurora 88. This was inspired by, and I don't have it out here, but inspired by the Parkour 51. And I would say in a lot of ways improves on the Parkour 51. I like this pen better than the Parkour 51. It's more comfortable to hold. The nib has a lot more possibility. I think it's more attractive. Yeah, I went there. Alright, the ink in it is Callifolio. Baikal, which is a Russian lake that I've never seen. But it's deep, so I'm imagining this is a deep dark blue to kind of express how deep that lake is. So just a very nice dark blue. It's a totally different character from, you're going to see a monsoon color later on, totally different character from that. My next pen is a Rexpen 1748. This is, like I said, from Croatia. And it has one of those wonderful, wonderful vintage Bach nibs on it. So Rexpen 1748, the ink in it is Rohrer and Klingner. Alt Bordeaux. I've mentioned a few times I really like Montegrappa's Bordeaux ink, which is discontinued. This is a contender for replacing it. It's not the same color, but it's kind of in that family. Just a nice dark red. Maybe with a hint of purple in it. My next pen, I'm surprised, is still inked. I keep expecting it to run out because it's a good one for fun writing. Just a nice, beautiful pen. Definitely not a pen that disappears in your hand while you're writing, because I just keep thinking how pretty it is and what a great nib it has. The nib is impossible for me to read in this light, but it's gold. I think it's just a generic warranted nib. This ink is it's a Diamine special edition. It's a German special edition. And of course, with a purple pen, I had to have an ink called Diamine Purple Rain. If this pen is still in use next week, I'll be surprised. I just can't imagine, with all the writing I've done with it, that there's any ink left in it. And some weeks you get that thing where the pens just run dry as you're in the midst of pens in use. So, yeah, I think it is running dry. The ink is acting kind of funny there. It sometimes does. All right, next pen is a Ballograf. This is a Swedish pen. One of my few Swedish pens. I don't have a model number or anything, so I'm just calling it a Ballograf. And the ink is Krishna Pacha Avari, which in this week's selection of inks I'm realizing is kind of unique because it's bright. My friends up in the northern part of the state actually had snow, a lot of snow, day or two ago. Not here. It's been colder, but no snow. In fact, I need to go out and mow my lawn. Platinum President, which has a very fun cursive italic nib. Here, if I'm going to mention the nib, I should show it to you, right? It's ground by Dan Smith of the Nib Smith. I put a black ink in it for another video I'm doing today. I felt like black would be good for this nib. Totally forgetting what the ink is called. Callifolio. Noir. Like I needed one more black ink in my collection of inks. And right there on the box, you can see what a cursive italic nib does. Very wide downstrokes, very narrow cross strokes. An architect's nib is the exact opposite. I think I've had an architect's nib in here for a couple of weeks now. Must be used up. Alright, so I had 2 of these last week. I still have them both inked up, but I decided to set the one aside, and I went with the one with my favorite color ink in it. This is a Wing Sung 699. Last week I went into how it compares to the Pilot Custom 823, which it's clearly meant to emulate. This one has the fine nib on it, but I never noticed any difference between the two. The ink, of course, is a nice surprise. I like this one a lot. This is Krishna Monsoon. I've never seen a monsoon. Don't know if I ever will. I have no interest in living in the parts of the United States that get hurricanes. Sorry. But, I don't know, something about it. It's just really appealing. And just to stir the hornet's nest last week, I brought out a real Pilot Custom 823. I should do a video where I just compare the two models. Maybe something fun to do. I used to do Instagram videos where I'd compare different pens. I kind of lost interest in Instagram video, but lately I've been learning that I can record decent video with my cell phone. So maybe I'll get back into that this summer. I don't know. I'm having enough trouble keeping up with YouTube right at the moment, so I'm definitely not stacking something else onto my plate. Alright, this is Aubergine. This is Aurora and Klingner. I believe it was a special edition. They don't have it for sale anymore anyway. I really like it. I like it better than De Atramentis Aubergine, so hope they bring it back. But then again, at the glacial pace, because I have so much ink that I work through my ink, maybe they don't need to bother. Maybe this will last me for the rest of my life. Alright, I have a fine nib here. This is a soft fine. Something I really like. I love Platinum soft fine nib. Their soft medium doesn't appeal to me as well. But this one, dang. This ink is Callifolio Grenat. I think I mentioned in another video that this is EN. This is another one that could replace that Montegrappa Bordeaux. Maybe even more closely than the Alt Bordeaux could, because this is a nice... It's a lighter color, kind of like the Montegrappa Bordeaux. And of course, the soft fine nib on this pen is how I knew when I finally decided I was going to splurge on a ridiculous pen that somebody pointed out to me I wasted my money because I should have bought a trip to Japan instead of this pen. But anyway, I knew what nib I wanted on this pen. I went for a soft fine because Nakaya is part of platinum, and I believe it's Nakaya, but anyway, they're part of platinum, and so it's really the same nib as what's on a 3776, just different printing on it. And by excuse me, and by the way, I do enjoy this pen. Platinum. No, it isn't. It's Pelikan, Edelstein, Olivine. Okay, I need to do something with the bookmark situation here. Wow, that square got kind of catterwampus. Alright, so the bookmark's in the way. It's actually been in the way, I just finally have to do something about it. Alright, my next pen I'm bringing out is kind of a fun one. Pilot Justus 95. Now, there may be a video out this afternoon on this channel. A discussion with another pen person. I don't know, this may come out after it or before it, but anyway, there's a possibility he'll be showing a Wahl Eversharp adjustable nib. Well, this is a pretty good pen because it has an adjustable nib. So we'll write the name of the pen in soft mode, and we'll write the name of the ink in hard mode. Actually, it's not a custom, it's just a Justus. Pilot Justus 95. Fine. And so it's in soft mode now. Now I'm turning it to hard mode. I don't notice much difference. It's more like a gimmick to me. It's a little harder to get much line variation this way. This is Sailor Jentle. It has more to do with the feeling than anything. Grenat. I like the soft feeling better, but I know, like if I'm doing math or something, I feel better with it in hard mode. Which makes no sense, but there it is. A lot of the things we do don't make sense. As part of that video I'll be doing is, a couple of these pens are here for that video. This one is one that'll be in it. We're going to talk nibs. This is a Cavaco V14S, which is almost out of ink, which took a long time because this pen is stingy with the ink. I don't say that as a bad thing. I say it as a thing about this pen. This isn't the pen you use when you're trying to show off your ink or you're flexing or whatever. This is the pen you just use to do your work. And this is a good ink to do your work with. Just a nice, it's attractive, but it's businesslike. Okay, last one. I'll get to the Escritor here in a second. This is my Central Pen 100820. If we're going to talk nibs, this better be in the video. Because this ISCO nib is wonderful. There we go. In my brain, I remembered this as being a more reddish ink, but that's not what's coming out of the pen, so... Huh. It does match the pen very well, though. So those are the pens and inks that I've been using this week. Now, before I leave this page, I had a couple of housekeeping details. One of them is an update on this pen. This is an Escritor Juniors that I restored and finally reviewed this week. So I was trying to write with it, and it wasn't writing. I'm like, seriously? It had been fine. See? Not writing. So I opened it up thinking, did I empty it already? No. But the cartridge is in there. That little pin that came out when I was doing the original review came out into the cartridge, and the cartridge is stuck in there. So anyway, after this video is over, I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to do a little surgery. I think I'm going to try and grab the pin with some needle. I have either some tweezers or some needle nose pliers. And see if it all comes out, and then I'll probably, if it's not being nice, I'll probably be spending some quality time with a paper clip trying to get that cartridge out. So, yay. And, you know, you look at a Schaefer cartridge, they're fat. I mean, here's a, what is this? A Parker converter. It's bigger around than that. Lamy. Yeah, is this Lamy? I think this is a Lamy cartridge. It's bigger around than the Lamy cartridge. And that's just what's laying here. I was looking at the Escritor cartridge. Without measuring, I think it's a tiny bit bigger around than the Escritor cartridge. So, awkward. But what fun would this channel be if everything worked like it's supposed to work, right? All right, in other exciting news this week, I was looking at an article, which I've got the link in the video description. It's an article about how the ballpoint pen killed cursive. It appeared in the Atlantic and in, what was the other one? Pocket or something? I was sent a copy of it from Pocket, and I had found it in the Atlantic. But anyway, I have here some various writing instruments. Now, I'll pull them off screen for a moment. They don't all have ink in them, because I don't use them very often. So I want to just start by holding the lovely Aurora 88. And I want you to see how I'm writing. In fact, since we're looking more at the holding rather than the writing, now, isn't that pleasant? Holding it at a nice angle, nicely writes. So in the article, he talks about how, the author is the he, how the ballpoint pen needs to be held more upright. Now, I like, so this is a gel pen, so that'll be interesting. I like Parker ballpoints. Let's just get that bias out of the way. If I'm going to use a ballpoint, I do prefer the Parker refills. So I have two Parker jotters here. So this is the Parker jotter with a refill I found loose in the drawer. And it may need a little encouragement to get going. So I don't know if it's true or not, but I think I'm pushing down a little harder. But I will say I disagree with him that I'm having to hold it upright. Of course, we can look at the video later and see if I'm wrong. But he blamed that for why people write more in print and that kind of thing. So since I've got it here, let's do the Parker Gel Pen. That just is terrible, and I think the gel pen may actually be drying out. I've got a couple other ballpoints. This is one that was given to me when I left a job, so it was kind of a gift. It's a cross. The mechanism is tight. The pen is really thin. So again, I'm not having to do the upright thing too much. Maybe I'm using too good of a ballpoint. Here's a one that was just given to me at random somewhere. One of those freebies you pick up. Again, not really struggling with it. And here's a freebie when our grocery store fell under new ownership. This is actually a pretty nice pen. Okay, so at least for myself, I'm not seeing the hypothesis that you hold it differently, but I will say I do have to push down a little bit more. Ballpoint ink is... well, these refills last forever. You know, you just slap one of these into your pen and you're golden for a long time. And you know, when one runs out, you pop it out, pop in another one. It's a very pasty, oily ink, so it'll smear out onto the ball. Just for fun, I brought along a pencil. I actually like writing with a pencil also, as much as I like writing with a fountain pen. It's a different experience, but I like it. So, I don't know. I'm not seeing that hypothesis being supported here. Sorry, I'm about to use camera A and it just quit working. But he talked about the changes in handwriting and how the lament that handwriting is becoming a lost art started to appear in the 1960s, along with the advent of the ballpoint pen. Of course, now people blame technology for it, which is true. You know, I think back, my school got its first computer when? I was in 3rd grade anyway. It was an Apple IIe and it was wheeled from room to room. We had... I'm just trying to think. Well, I will say this. There used to be schools of handwriting like Spencerian and Palmer and stuff. Spencerian especially disappeared. This is kind of elaborate, but the other thing that made a lot of that disappear was the advent of the typewriter. Suddenly handwriting was a lot less important. Anything official you typed. That definitely would have had an effect on handwriting. But we also see people teaching handwriting less. Now, I am going to do something that will make the purists among you freak. I used to hold, till I got serious into fountain pens, I used to hold my pens like this. Even the fountain pens. You know, the reason, I don't know, I started doing it because it just felt natural. And I remember my 1st grade teacher would just have fits over it, you know, grabbing my hand, slapping my hand, making me change my grip, and then me being me, I immediately switched back to this as soon as she walked away. And it was just as an adult a few years ago when I started collecting fountain pens that I changed my writing style. So, you know, the callus here has mostly gone down now over the years. I've been starting to develop one here through the years of you know, holding it like this with the tripod grip. I don't know that I agree with this guy's whole thesis that it has to do with ballpoints. And I also see the computer world trying to get into that handwriting thing. I'm going to go grab something. Where I teach, we are a one-to-one school, and every student has a Microsoft Surface. Why? Because I was pushing that handwriting aspect, and they have a decent pen. I will use this in class, especially with the program OneNote, to do a lot of handwritten stuff. It's nice because it's wireless also, so I can walk around. And I like it. It's just very natural and comfortable for me. It's not quite like paper, but it works. You know, it's an older Wacom tablet. They don't make this model anymore, I don't believe. But, I'll update it when I have to. But until then, I'll just continue using it. It's just nice for handwriting. And is that worse than handwriting on a piece of paper? I've eyed a few times. I'm not going to buy one, but every so often I think about it. The Remarkable tablet. KDP has several videos on his channel about the Remarkable tablet. And part of their thing is it feels more like writing on paper. My interpretation of their description is it's like writing with a pencil on paper. But anyway, just an interesting device that uses e-ink rather than a screen like this. So e-ink like a Kindle. What I've kept coming back to is reminding myself that, yeah, that's cool, but I don't have a place for it in my workflow. If it worked with Evernote, maybe, but it doesn't. So we'll stick with my notebooks for now. So anyway, it was an interesting article, and that's why I'm linking it here. Some schools have gotten away from teaching handwriting. And I'll tell you what happens, because it happened to me for a while. Happens to kids in general. You teach them cursive, and they don't stick with it. By the time they're in high school, they're all printing. Why? Who knows? Part of it, they get, like I did, attacked about their handwriting. Another thing that can happen, it's not as comfortable. That was the pen I didn't like, isn't it? It's not as comfortable writing, in cursive with my ballpoint pen, but it's really not bad either. I just misspelled cursive. I think comfort. I almost think maybe we should be teaching cursive first, if cursive is important, rather than print, because we teach them block print. And then we say, oh, yeah, now we're going to learn how to write cursive like the big kids do, which the big kids don't, so that's a lie. But, little kids, maybe their fine motor skills are better at curves rather than, block letters. I don't know. I also know I absolutely despised handwriting class in elementary school. That was so boring. Mindlessly copying things. I to this day, I hate doing that. It's horrible. It's like torture. So I don't. And that really turned me off on handwriting. And that could be the case for a lot of kids, because I don't find it relaxing just to copy something. I like to create. So, anyway, that's my little rant on handwriting. In other exciting news this week, you probably saw that I was featured on Just of Appelboom Pennen. So had me talk about my 3 favorite pens. And it's kind of funny, when that was actually recorded is before this whole COVID-19 thing was, a thing. I recorded it in a different world from the one where I'm living right now. But even so, it was an interesting challenge to think about what are 3 pens that really meant something to me. I'm not somebody, I've done it once and I don't even own the pen anymore. I don't buy pens to commemorate events. But I thought about, and I thought, what are some pens that pick out various points in my fountain pen journey? And so I came up with the Parker Vector, which, in watching the video on Monday, I was just like, oh my gosh, I kept calling it a Parker Jotter. I don't know why. I corrected myself partway through the video, but for the first part of the video, I kept calling it a Parker Jotter. And I didn't just Parker Jotter once. I mean, over and over. And it's just like, no, you idiot. How could you not catch that in post or something? But I didn't. So that was fun. But I'm pleased with how it turned out. I thought it was an interesting challenge. And so hope he can continue to find people. I have no connection with him, so I was kind of surprised that they even reached out to me, because I'm sure I've bought a pen from them at some point, but I mean, I don't buy a lot of modern pens, so I'm not really his market. So I was kind of surprised anyway. But it was fun. And so I'm sure he'll be looking for more pen personalities in the future. The other exciting thing, I didn't mean for it to go up today. I was kind of surprised this morning when I had comments on a video that, okay, I meant for that to go up next week because I have a different special edition video planned for today, aside from pens in use, because I'm going to be talking with a YouTuber. We're going to try live streaming, but well, it's not going to be a surprise, so I'll tell you, Pierre Gustafson. But so I was surprised this morning when I log on and find comments on that video and just, well, shoot, that was supposed to be next week. So, sorry. Guess you get extra me today. I visited because I was going to kind of advertise it today saying, well, next Sunday, but too late for that. So I visited, that was just part of my continuing trip up to Minot. I visited my town I lived in for 3 years. Not my first town I taught in, my second one. And just a little bit of reflection on the town and some of the lessons I learned. I tried to keep it light and positive. There are some very dark stories I could tell you about why I left there. And like I said in the video, why? Dwell on the positive. Yeah, I'm still bitter about some of the reasons I left there, but why dwell on it? Be happy. So I think that's one of the best lessons I learned in Turtle Lake is just to be happy. You can't wait for other people to make you happy. You have to make yourself happy. You have to find your own happiness. Ironically, the next place I moved, I moved away from it just to make myself happy. So, there is that. But that's a story for if I ever tour that town. So, but yeah, it was kind of fun to see the old place. My old house was torn down, and well, that was a surprise. Because it was a nice house, much nicer than what I live in now. I mean, it was actually finished. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's no trim in this house except what I've put in, and I haven't done windows yet, so windows have no trim in this house. Working on it. We'll get there. I'm thinking baseboard this summer because that's easier than windows. I'm kind of dreading doing the windows. But anyway, so that's what's going on with the channel, and well, thank you for watching. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens, both new and old, and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I would just add, what do you think about that article? Maybe you'd like to read it yourself. I've provided the link in the video description. What killed handwriting? Has handwriting been killed? Or is it just moving on to new forms? Let me know down in the comments. So, I want to thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.